Hey there, sci-fi lovers. Welcome to our channel, where the universe unfolds and the impossible becomes real. If you're as passionate about the unknown as we are, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us create more mind-bending adventures just for you.
The story of Xylos. In the shadows of a remote asteroid field, far from the well-traveled space routes, the Galactic Tavern stood as a hidden refuge for travelers seeking peace, anonymity, or simply a place to be forgotten by the universe for a while. The asteroid field's gravitational flux made navigation treacherous, but for those who knew the way, it was worth the trip. Inside, the low hum of conversation mingled with the soft clinks of glasses and the distant, ever-present echo of asteroids drifting outside. The tavern's dim lighting and old wooden beams gave it an ancient, almost timeless atmosphere, an odd contrast to the advanced technology hidden in the walls. Every corner had its secrets, just like the patrons who found their way here. Rich Covert, the owner and bartender, leaned against the polished stone bar, watching the crowd. His face, weathered but calm, reflected the quiet confidence of a man who had seen everything the galaxy had to offer, and a little more. His dark hair was streaked with silver, and his sharp green eyes, once bright with ambition, now held the steady gaze of a man who lived with a lifetime of untold stories. Rich had built the tavern with his own hands, each plank and beam imbued with the memories of countless patrons. He prided himself on being a good listener, and the tavern thrived on the stories that floated in and out like the patrons themselves. Some came seeking solace, while others craved adventure, but all found their way to this sanctuary nestled among the stars. A gust of cold air swept through the tavern as the door slid open, a warning sign of a new arrival. A figure, cloaked in dark robes, stepped inside, shaking off the frost of the asteroid's vacuum. They moved toward the bar, their steps careful and deliberate, as though the weight of the galaxy rested on their shoulders. Rich set down the glass he had been polishing and nodded. "Long way to come for a drink," he said in his deep, steady voice. The figure pulled back their hood, revealing a human face, pale, gaunt, with eyes that looked like they hadn't seen sleep in days. They met Rich's gaze but said nothing as they slid onto a bar stool, glancing around at the other patrons before speaking. "I've been running," the stranger said, their voice low and hollow. "Running from what I saw, and from the end of an entire world." Rich raised an eyebrow but knew better than to ask too many questions. In this tavern, stories had a way of finding their way out without being forced. He poured the stranger a drink, the amber liquid swirling in the glass like a galaxy of its own. The stranger took a deep breath, their fingers tapping nervously against the counter. "You ever hear of Xylos?" Rich gave a faint nod. He'd heard the name before, whispered in passing by some of the more adventurous patrons. Outer Rim. Not many people make it out that far anymore. "Not many people make it back," the stranger corrected, their voice taking on a harder edge. "But I did, and I brought back a story you won't believe." The tavern's usual hum of conversation quieted as nearby patrons leaned in, curious to hear the tale. Rich remained silent, nodding for the stranger to continue. And so, the story of Xylos unfolded. The story of Xylos. In 2789, on the isolated planet of Xylos, Dr. Elisa Vorn and her team had made a discovery that would forever change the course of history. For decades, the people of Xylos had been on a quest to understand the ultimate nature of the universe. They believed that, through their advanced understanding of quantum mechanics and metaphysics, they could peer beyond the veil of reality itself. Their creation, the quantum realignment field, was designed to do just that. With a single pulse, it would align the planet's quantum frequencies with those of the cosmos, revealing the truth behind existence itself. On the day the machine was activated, the atmosphere around Xylos shifted. The stars in the sky seemed to flicker,
and the air hummed with an otherworldly energy. And then reality itself split open. A blinding light erupted from the sky, and a massive, unknowable entity appeared, a being of pure consciousness, radiating with a presence that transcended physical form. Its voice echoed in the minds of every living creature on the planet. "I am," it said. In that moment, the people of Xylos knew. They had discovered the Creator, God, in the truest sense. The being was not just a deity, but the source of all things, the origin of existence itself. At first, the discovery was met with awe. Celebrations erupted across the planet. Religions that had faded into myth were revived. Scientists wept at the magnitude of their discovery, believing they had unlocked the final mystery of the universe. But the revelation came with an unforeseen consequence.
As the people of Xylos contemplated their newfound knowledge, a dark realization settled in. If this was God, and the truth of existence was now known, then what purpose did their lives serve? The petty struggles, the aspirations, the search for meaning, none of it mattered anymore. The proof of God had robbed them of their reason to live. Within days, the first wave of suicides began. The elderly, the sick, those who believed their time had come, were the first to go. But soon others followed. Entire families, young and old, saw no point in continuing their lives when the afterlife, reunion with the divine, was now a certainty. The world grew quiet. City streets emptied and silence reigned where once there had been the vibrant hum of life. Xylos, a planet that had sought the ultimate truth, had found it, and in doing so had sealed its fate. Dr. Vorn, racked with guilt, attempted to reverse the process. She convened with her team, each of them haunted by what they had unleashed. Their once spirited discussions turned into arguments, accusations, and despair. "We thought we could understand," Dr. Vorn would whisper, her hands trembling as she pored over the data from the experiment. "But we broke something we didn't even know existed." The quantum realignment field had been designed to explore the mysteries of existence, but it had instead laid bare the futility of life itself. Dr. Vorn's team, once filled with pride and ambition, was now a group teetering on the brink of madness. "Perhaps we can find a way to undo it," one of her colleagues suggested, their voice barely above a whisper. "We must reconnect the quantum frequencies to shield the planet from what we unleashed." But the team was fragmented, their resolve crumbling like the cities around them. They lacked the emotional fortitude to confront what they had done. One by one, her colleagues succumbed to despair, their hopes extinguished in the face of a truth too great to bear. Dr. Vorn, driven by guilt and determination, worked tirelessly to find a solution. She locked herself in the lab, running simulations and poring over the equations. But as the days turned into weeks, she felt the weight of despair pressing down on her, suffocating her every thought. Outside, Xylos descended into chaos. The once vibrant streets were now filled with the echoes of laughter turned to weeping. The celebration had become a funeral procession for the living. Those who remained wandered aimlessly, their eyes glazed over as they sought solace in the knowledge that the divine awaited them. Dr. Vorn finally stumbled upon a theory that might work. If they could recalibrate the quantum realignment field to send out a counter-frequency, perhaps it could restore the fragile fabric of existence and reignite the will to live. But she needed a sacrifice, a life to power the recalibration. She made her choice. She would enter the quantum realignment field herself. Back in the tavern. Back in the Galactic Tavern, the stranger's voice faltered as they finished the story, their hands trembling slightly. I left before it all ended. I couldn't stay. I wasn't ready to die. But now I wander, trying to make sense of it all, wondering if I should have stayed. Rich studied the stranger for a long moment. The story had taken a toll, not just on the teller, but on everyone who had heard it. Even the most hardened patrons of the tavern were silent, their usual banter and laughter muted by the weight of the tale. He poured the stranger another drink. "There's always another story," he said quietly. "Another chapter to live, even after everything falls apart."
The stranger nodded, their haunted eyes softening just a little. Maybe, maybe there is. Just then, the tavern door swung open again, and a group of new patrons stumbled in, laughter trailing behind them like a comet's tail. They were explorers, their faces flushed with excitement and adventure. The mood shifted, tension breaking like a wave crashing on a shore. Rich welcomed them with a smile, his instincts guiding him as he glanced back at the stranger. As the new patrons filled the space, they animatedly recounted their latest escapades, narrow escapes from space pirates, encounters with alien civilizations, and exhilarating races through asteroid fields. Rich poured drinks and served plates of steaming food, his heart lightening with their infectious energy. But amidst the raucous laughter, Rich couldn't shake the feeling that the stranger was still in need. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. You know, not every tale ends in tragedy. Sometimes they lead to something new. The stranger glanced up, their gaunt face illuminated by the tavern's warm glow. What if I'm not ready for new stories? What if I can't find meaning in them? Rich smiled gently, his eyes reflecting the flickering lights above. Meaning isn't always found in grand adventures.
Sometimes it's in the quiet moments, in the connections we make with others. You came here, didn't you? That's a start. As the laughter rose around them, the stranger began to listen, drawn in by the shared joy of those who had not lost their way. The tales of daring feats ignited a flicker of something in their eyes, a sense of belonging, of hope. Days turned into weeks in the tavern, and with each passing evening, more patrons arrived, each with their own story. The stranger found themselves increasingly captivated by the stories told in hushed tones and boisterous laughter. They listened, absorbing the richness of life that still flourished outside their personal darkness. One evening, Rich set down a glass before the stranger. "You've been through a lot," he said softly. "But you've also shared your story. That's powerful. You could help others, too." The stranger took a deep breath, considering his words. "But what do I have to offer? I've seen despair. I've run from it." "Perhaps you've run towards something," Rich replied, his green eyes steady. "Every tale, even the darkest ones, has a spark of light. You can help others find theirs. Share your story. Maybe it can guide someone else who feels lost." The stranger pondered this. The thought of sharing their experience felt daunting, yet liberating. What if their story could resonate with another weary soul seeking solace? As the stars twinkled beyond the tavern's walls, a feeling of clarity washed over the stranger. They had survived. They were still here, still breathing. Perhaps it was time to honor that survival by sharing their truth. The following night, when the tavern was filled with familiar faces, the stranger rose from their seat, heart pounding. Rich offered an encouraging nod, and the room quieted, anticipation hanging thick in the air. "I have a story," the stranger began, their voice stronger than before, "a story of loss and despair, but also of hope." As they spoke, the tavern transformed around them. The patrons leaned in, enraptured by the tale of Xylos. They felt the weight of existence, the fragility of life, and the depth of human connection. And when the stranger finished, silence enveloped the room. Then a single clap erupted, followed by another. Soon the tavern was filled with applause, a celebration of resilience and courage. Rich watched with pride, his heart swelling as he realized the stranger had finally begun to find their place among the stories of the Galactic Tavern. Epilogue. As weeks turned into months, the Galactic Tavern continued to thrive. The stranger became a beloved figure, sharing their journey and listening to the tales of others. They forged connections, helping lost souls navigate their own paths of despair. Rich Covert poured drinks and served food, each night bringing new stories to life. The tavern became a haven for those seeking solace, a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the universe, hope could always be found. And far away, on the lonely planet of Xylos, Dr. Elisa Vorn's sacrifice rippled through time and space.
Though the planet's fate was sealed, the echoes of her desperate attempt to reverse their greatest mistake resonated through the cosmos. In the Galactic Tavern, amidst the swirling shadows of the asteroid field, life went on. Stories intertwined, laughter echoed, and the warmth of connection burned brightly against the cold vacuum of space. In this secluded corner of the universe, far from the prying eyes of the galaxy, the tavern held the promise of countless tales yet to be told. And as always, there would be more to come. The end, for now.
Thank you so much for joining us on this cosmic journey. If you enjoyed the ride, please hit that subscribe button and share the adventure with others. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you even more incredible stories. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the stars.